Yeah, baby, here we go. You're listening to the Human Powered Life podcast, where we focus on helping you claim what's rightfully yours, your health and your freedom. We explore the three main areas of health: the physical realm, the biochemical realm, and the mental and emotional realm. We also explore all the areas of lifestyle we can find that will help you live more abundantly, regardless of where you're starting. And remember, in life, you'll either make excuses or create results. You choose. I'm your host, Dr. Josh Hant, and I'm glad to be with you here today. Make sure to head on down to the show notes and click on the link to join our tribe of human-powered life heroes, where we'll update you on new shows, events, product launches, and so much more. Now, it's time to enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome to the Human Powered Life podcast. I'm glad to have you here again today. We got an amazing guest. This is Robbie Kramer. Dude, I'm excited. I love our pre-chat. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. So what I love to do is have people give their story, their 5 minutes on who they are and like why they became who they are today. So floor is yours, my friend.
Sure. So before I got into, being a dating coach, I was, a horrible, clueless guy. I had no sort of, I had no idea what I was doing when it came to dating or relationships or love. I wasn't like completely ass backwards. I was kind of a golf nerd in high school and college, had a few relationships on and off, but never really put any thought into my dating life. I just kind of figured, I'll meet someone and get married and have kids and a family one day. Around the age of, 21, I kind of kept noticing that all the women I was interested in were more interested in just being friends. I was kind of always in the friend zone, and I was living with a couple buddies who were like good looking surfer dudes, 6'5", tan, living in San Diego. And, we'd go out to the bars and they'd always bring home chicks. And I was just, not nearly pulling what they were pulling. And a buddy of mine told me about some of this wacky content that he found online, some stuff about pickup artists and this book called The Game. And at first I was like, that stuff's weird. Like there's a bunch of weird guys painting their fingernails and run around with goggles on. So I was like, I don't know about this shit. But as I got more into it, it kind of opened my mind up to the idea of personal growth. And for the first time, I realized like, okay, you can actually become a more attractive version of yourself by improving your dating skills, by becoming more charismatic in your conversations, and by not really being afraid of rejection. And I was terrified of rejection, just like most guys are. If it's not something you just kind of build and you have buddies that don't give a shit about it, like if you see a beautiful girl, you're probably going to get tongue tied. You're not going to know what to say to her, or you're going to have that anxiety to kind of walk up. But through this sort of personal growth experience, I just overcame all that through trial and error. And I was at an interesting place when I kind of learned about this personal growth stuff, like improvement with women. I had just graduated from university. I had won a decent amount of money playing online poker, like 50 grand as like a 22, 23-year-old. So I didn't really need to go out and get like a normal 9-to-5 job. And because I had that like money in the bank, I just went full speed ahead, focusing on improving my social skills. For whatever reason, maybe it was because of just not sort of having the same experiences that my buddies were. I always kind of had that little like chip on my shoulder. Like they're always doing better than me. They've got, cuter girlfriends. And for whatever reason, it was like this personal thing I wanted to accomplish. So I went like really head first into hacking my social skills, learning how to be like the most attractive version of myself. And that led me down this crazy rabbit hole, because once I started becoming better with women, I had a ton of women friends. Like all of these guys started wanting to hang out with me. I started a side business. My buddy was like a promoter and he had a model house. And I invested a little bit of money into his model house. And now all of a sudden I could show up to a nightclub, and rather than like waiting in line and doing what the normal sort of single dudes do in a nightclub, I could show up, there's a table full of models. I'd have access to that table, and everyone would be kind of like, it's you
Who's
know,
that
the
guy?
next to the right. It's like it was just kind of mind boggling to me that the more I improved socially and kind of hacked those skills, the more access I could get, which also led to more money. And at the time I'd start once I got pretty good at this stuff, I was blogging, and people started following my blog, listening to podcasts, and hired me for coaching. And that sort of transformed into this business that I founded back in 2009. So I never really set out to be a dating coach, but just with my obsession for self-improvement and learning this stuff, I became one. And then fast forward, I ended up putting together these party trips with crazy, Playboy models in the Maldives and doing these villa parties. So my life was, it just kind of took this weird, this weird journey.
From golf nerd to Playboy models and parties.
Yeah. I mean, I was living the Dan Blazarian lifestyle. Like, everyone knows who he is. They see him on Instagram. And, if you've read or if you've heard of his book that just came out, I think it's called The Setup. It's the exact same thing that I basically did to set up this lifestyle. And I had this, this huge sort of desire to kind of do the bachelor thing, sow the wild oats. Some guys have that more than others. And I guess that was something I felt like I really needed to get out of my system. I've spent a lot of years being really immature and having those crazy sort of sexual bucket list experiences that I felt like I needed. But in the back of my mind, I did want that normal sort of lifestyle, have a family, have kids. But I just always felt like I wasn't ready until I kind of did all that stuff. And I'm really glad I did in hindsight, because I'm 39 now. I'm engaged. I'm in a monogamous relationship, which totally confuses all of my friends and former clients. They're like, how the hell did you get into a monogamous relationship? You're like the biggest like Playboy fuckboy we've ever met or seen. But I'm very happy because I've done all that shit. I've kind of got it out of my system. And now it's not something that I really have to worry about anymore. Now I can just hang out, play golf, chill, and think about, working in my business and those sort of things that weren't as important to me. So one thing that I always, I see a lot with clients who started kind of at that same age, like 22, 23, instead of focusing on their social skills and women, they focused hardcore on money. And, maybe they made a lot of money, or they got married early, had a family, got divorced, lost a lot of money in the divorce. And now at the age of like 40, they're coming back and like, I need to handle this social thing. I need to understand how attraction works, how to date, how to sort of, land the women that I really want. So it's just interesting to me that guys start with a different sort of goal, but they kind of need to end up in the same area and develop the same skills regardless. And as we were mentioning or talking about before, you have to date your wife if you're married, right? If you let whatever you did to attract her die, and you just think you can sit back and just, oh, now that I got her, doesn't really matter how I operate or how I behave, that will sabotage a relationship at the end of the day. So that's hopefully not too long-winded.
No, that's great. So, it's really, like as I followed that story you just shared, it's really interesting because I see there's a common thread in a lot of successful people that I get to talk to and interview, and it's all an inside out job. It always is. There, when we chase the outside first, you never fix the inside. Like you're always after the next, shiny object, whether it's, oh, I got a new car, I got a house, I got a new girlfriend, I got a whatever it may be. And it's men or women, right? They are always doing the same thing over and over again. But those that actually own that inner growth or that inner peace or inner wisdom, they just can charge forward, and you become a magnet versus, like a fishing rod trying to pull people in. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And, that's, for many years, I thought I was chasing women, but what I was really chasing was validation. And that was my way of kind of making up for all that time as like, a middle schooler, high schooler, feeling like I was the kind of like fat dorky kid that was always getting rejected. Like I had so many sort of inner confidence issues to overcome, and that outside, if I, land this hot girl, or if I date these models, or if I do XYZ, then I'll feel validated and cool. And so, some people that's, I got to make $1 million, or, so we all have our different version of that. But eventually, like you said, if you're just chasing that outcome, it's an endless black hole.
Yeah.
And, no matter how many women you sleep with or, how much money you make, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. It's not fulfilling, and you just have to stay on that hamster wheel, and it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I would beg to say that, a lot of mental illness that's out there today may be stemming from a lot of that type of philosophy, like chasing the shiny object.
Oh, totally.
Like I made all this money, now I can, type of thing. Not that I have any opposition to money, like not at all, like zero. But
I think it's just our culture, like our culture, just given the consumerism and how, capitalism works, right? Like you got to feed the beast. So you get sucked into it.
I'm all for it. I think it's great, but I think, we have it made so much easier than maybe, generations ago, where people had to work hard. People had to a lot of people came from nothing, and that still happens today. But like, when we just think about people that immigrate to different countries, different places, like, okay, I came in with this pencil. Now I own the largest car company in the world, or something like that. Like,
right.
They came and they had to work their tail off. And then now they have the fruits of life and they can do those things. I think, our generation, since we're similar in age, a lot of us just like, listen, I can go to college, I get a good job. Then the things will come. Type of thing. They expect it. They expect it versus having to work for it, having to work for the lifestyle. I just give you one example. I know this has nothing to do with dating, but it's about doing the work, right? Like doing that your self growth work. And part of my journey in like my self-care and self-growth is I was a competitive skier in high school and college, alpine skier. Then I got out of college, went to chiropractic school, did some CrossFit, did all of these things. And one of my biggest teachers in the world has been running. I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but I've become an endurance athlete, if you will. Like I run these crazy ultra marathons now. Like that to me is fun. But it's being in that discomfort and being the repetitions, and I have patients ask me all the time, like, why you do this? I go, because, I don't need to get to the next race. Like the races are like more of the mental challenge for me at this point, because I crave being in the silence, being in my own mind. Because when you're with yourself for 23 hours, by yourself, like no headphones in, no music, that's a lot to think about.
The races are that long?
Yeah, they can be that long or more.
Wow.
Right. So for me, it
gotta be like a spiritual experience.
Well, it is, and it's a lot of reflection. You're very uncomfortable, so you learn to deal, like you talk about rejection, right? It's that self-talk that's constantly like hammering you down. Like it's the same with running. When you're doing these long, even people that run a marathon, but when you go beyond that, like you have to push past the body, you have to push past your like mind, if you will, and you go like almost like into your heart. And like people, you see these ultra runners crying for no reason, not because they're in pain, but it's like they're just having like this emotional flush. But for me, it's like I finish the races and I my head is like, holy cow, like I think I could change the world again, like in a different way. So it's like this almost a recharge, even though I'm draining the crap out of my body. Right.
No, I could totally relate, and especially to that feeling. And it's funny that you bring it up. I actually went to a chiropractor for the first time a week ago. And cool. I was telling him that I had this weird sort of it wasn't pain, but it was like tension in my left hip. And, he did a bunch of work. And then eventually at the end of the session, he like pulled on it. And what came out was like this huge sound followed by like a blah. It sounded like there was so much nasty shit stuck in there for years. And I immediately had so much more range of motion. But the weird thing was I couldn't stop laughing. I was uncontrollably laughing for like 45 seconds. Yeah. And I've always heard like, the issues are in the tissues, and we have emotions that are kind of trapped in our body, or there's, these experiences that we have, like you're talking about with running, where you do something that like physically exerts yourself beyond what your brain can sort of comprehend. And then the emotions come out, and it's, it's very transformative. So that was cool. Like
agreed. And then that's like, that happens. I get laughing, I get crying in my practice, not all the time, but people that have had like old injuries, when the nervous system can reboot itself, it's like, holy cow, like what, we don't know what's going to come out. Like
Yeah.
my first time experiencing like adjusting a person, and they just sit up, whether there's a full adult, like burly man or a woman, and they just sit up and like start like weeping. I'm like, my first thought was like, what happened? Like what?
Totally, right? Yeah.
And they're like, no, like I just like this emotional thing. Like it just felt like you just took all the pressure off the world. And I was like, wow, this is bigger than I thought. But yeah, no, exactly. That crazy tension just gets released. But I want to really connect it to what you do and for yourself and like how you do that with clients, because doing the daily work to make you, like you say, more attractive is a term you use, is powerful, right? It's like, even like when I'm married for, since 2004, been my wife since 98, like if we don't do work, yeah, we have our tiffs, we have our fights, we've had those things and they suck really bad, but it's because we get lazy with what made us so excited to be with each other. And I don't want to be 18 again. Like that's not my goal with my wife, but it's to be like transforming and being happy and moving forward and enjoying things that we love to enjoy with each other. So can you give an example of like, a single guy that has maybe come from like a really dark place, if you will, and like has seen the rabbit hole or went in and then came out and found the light?
Yeah. So I kind of tend to attract two types of guys, either guys like me who are like the recovering, nice guy. I put that in quotes because it's not like we're really nice. We're just trying to be nice to get laid. And you'll see that a lot with,
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. It's like, I used to bring extra copies of my homework for the cute girls and try to, I always thought like, I've got the Jewish mom, and she said, if you're just a mensch, which is like a nice Jewish boy, you'll get the girl. And,
what? We're brothers from in that tribe, same tribe.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Being a mensch never worked. So not for me anyways. So for me, like I was really uncomfortable with sexual tension. Like if I knew a girl was into me, then I was okay. But I was embarrassed if she thought that I liked her. And like if I saw a girl in a nightclub, I was embarrassed to approach because again, like I was afraid to kind of put my interest out there because I thought I'd get rejected. And I could trace that back to like my first rejection in 7th grade. Like, I think for a lot of guys, if that first attempt goes well, you gain a bunch of confidence and you're more likely, right? But if you have a bad first attempt, you can totally
rejection, right?
Yeah. Right.
Hey, we're giving you a short break here where you can head down to the show notes or lifestylelocker.com and join our tribe of human-powered life heroes. You'll be the first to know about new shows, events, product launches, affiliate specials, and more. And now, back to the show.
So I see that a lot in my clients, and what I help them do is there's no way around rejection. You can't go over it, under it. You got to go through it. And as long as you have some sort of plan of what you're going to say to sort of expose yourself, it's really exposure therapy, right? And exposure therapy in terms of going up and talking to women. And, before, if you're scared to do that, like if you see a beautiful woman on the street and you're scared to just tell her, hey, I think you're really cute, I'm going to run away now. If that scares you too much, you could start with asking for the time or directions, or you could do other sort of social freedom exercises that desensitize you to what other people are thinking, because it really all comes down to like, am I being judged? Will I look like an idiot? And these thoughts keep us from going after what we want. Like, because there's nothing stopping you from talking to that gorgeous girl at the dry cleaner, except your own brain telling you that you shouldn't do it, or she probably has a boyfriend, or this or that or the other, right? So what I do with my clients is I help them kind of break that cycle down. And at first, there's a lot of anxiety to do it, but eventually, for me and for them, they all say it's like a religious experience, because you're taking something that you didn't think was possible, and now you're just kind of doing it like it's normal. And not only are you like overcoming a lot of your confidence issues, because every time you do it and you don't get the worst rejection you're ever going to get. Like if I walk up to a pretty girl and I say, hey, I saw you and I had to risk embarrassing the hell out of myself to come and meet you. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Right? Yeah. Either I have a boyfriend, or sorry, I'm not interested. That's about it. Right. Yeah. And, but maybe even if that happens 70% of the time, the other 30% of the time, you get some sort of amazing reaction. Maybe you walk away with their phone number or a date, and you realize like, whoa, I just literally went after what I wanted in life, which is powerful, right? Because most of the time we don't have an opportunity to like really do that.
Yeah.
And what I find with guys that really sort of benefit from this coaching is if you look at like how they're behaving in life, they're not doing that. Like I work with a lot of engineers, computer programmers, and they always feel like at work they get passed up on promotions. They're never really sticking up for themselves. They're always putting themselves last. They're not going after what they really want. And they're just like, oh yeah, you know, if I get good grades and if I work really hard, I'm going to be given, like what we talked about earlier, I'm going to be given the promotion. I'm going to be given, but no one's going to fucking give it to you. You got to take it. Right. And so from this, just from doing this, it just really, like, not only do you get dates, but you also gain a huge amount of confidence if you're doing the right thing. If you're walking up to women with stupid pickup lines or weird sort of, you know, unorthodox approaches, you're just going to get rejected all the time and you're going to totally fail and be worse.
Yes,
but
totally.
You know, so you need something to say. You need to know what, you know, you need to have some sort of, not a script, but a structure in your mind. Like if you're going to give a speech, you wouldn't want to script that out word for word, because then you're going to be up on the stage in your head trying to remember it. But if you have like a roadmap in your mind of where you're going to take the speech or where you're going to take the conversation, then you can confidently deliver it. And the more you do, the better you get. And you just start booking wins, and those wins turn into confidence. So not sure if that totally answered. It wasn't like a specific success story.
No, it totally makes sense that, you know, like as you're going through that, I'm like, I think, you know, Hollywood has capitalized on those men 100%, because of how many, like, what do they call them? Like, just like these like cheesy love story things, like
rom-coms.
Dorky guy, romantic comedies. Like, you know, they're always, it's like you are the solution to that movie, right? Like literally.
You remember Hitch with Will Smith?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, that, you know, that's literally kind of what I'm doing. But Hollywood spun that in a weird way, where they're like, he's helping this one guy get this one girl, which doesn't really happen in real life, right? Of course, but it's yeah, Hollywood has certainly played up. The best one is Crazy Stupid Love, because that's actually pretty.
Who's in that? I'm trying to remember.
That's Ryan Gosling and Steve Carell.
Oh yeah.
Carell's like going through the divorce, hasn't, you know, married his high school sweetheart, you know, and he just has no idea what he's doing. He's dressed poorly, and then Ryan Gosling is like, you know, the cool suave Casanova guy, and then he takes Steve Carell under his wing. Makes him into this ladies' man, and then ends up dating his daughter. So no.
Yeah. No, I get it. No, I think that's just interesting. So like if you know, someone was kind of like myself and asked you like, what do you feel is your true superpower, like in what you do? Like you're attracting, you know, you said like, I mean, you said you feel like you're even attracting yourself, like to like the people that are like you.
Yeah.
So what's your superpower that helps these people get like, make that huge pivot, make that turn like in life and go, wow, I mean, you're ultimately like a confidence person, right? That's what it comes down to. Probably more than that, but it's like, if we can break that, what else changes in their life?
Well, I think my biggest superpower, I think, and this is slightly different from what we talked about because it's such a hard question to answer.
Yeah,
but as we're talking, I realized that I've developed a really solid way of kind of reading people's emotions. And that's what you really have to develop. Like when you approach a bunch of people and you're in these weird situations, that is what you need to be really good at. You need to be able to read like how a woman's feeling in front of you, or how your buddy's feeling, or how people are feeling, especially during situations where you're asking someone to do something with you. Like whether that's asking, you know, I'm a salesman as well because I'm always trying to sell my own program. So sales, dating, like you're asking someone to take a next step with you, and that creates tension, right? Because there's that tension in making that commitment, whether it's going on a date or signing up for a program and, you know, paying your money. So when you deal with a lot of those situations where you're faced with tension, you get more comfortable doing it. And I think I've just gotten really good at knowing how to handle myself in those situations and being able to relate to the person I'm talking to and kind of act almost like a mirror. So they feel comfortable, I feel comfortable. And it ends up making me likable, I guess. Like my buddy said this, and you know, he's like, if you don't like Robbie, the problem isn't Robbie, the problem is you. And I always, I always thought like, wow, that's like the nicest compliment I could get.
Yeah.
But I appreciated that. So
Yeah.
maybe there's some truth to it. I don't know.
Well, no, I think that's great because it shows. I mean, like me, like I'll say like trolling you, scrolling, like learning about you. You know, we decided to have this conversation. I always like to know who my guest is going to be. Like, I don't want to just look at a picture and be like, okay, this is gonna be a cool person. I want to learn. I want to listen. I want to. And you come off that way, like on your podcast. You come off that way, like through your social posts, like being you're like funny, happy. Ask questions. So I could see where your friend would say that.
Yeah, I like to, I also get some feedback from people that end up signing up, and they're like, I like that you can teach me this stuff, but you're just like a normal dude. Mm-hmm. And that makes me really feel good because everyone, like, there's so much garbage sort of content out there to trying to teach guys, oh, you need to be like this. You need to be like James Bond. You need to be like this dude. You got to be smooth. It's like, no, you got to be like you. But the worst dating advice is just be yourself, because you're like, I'm being myself and I'm not getting dates, right? But the reason is you're not actually being yourself. You're being yourself, but you're covered in garbage because it's not your authentic personality. It's just embarrassment, nervousness, awkwardness, because you're not comfortable in those situations. You're afraid of rejection. So that's the process of just kind of facing those fears allows you to kind of get to that real, whatever, inner self or authentic self. Yeah. And that guy's always attractive. Like when you're around your buddies or your closest friends, like you're always going to be attractive. But when you're presented with a beautiful woman who makes you nervous, or a business deal that you got to, get right, like then you start not acting like yourself. Yeah. And that's when we get screwed.
Yeah. And I want to connect this for some of the married guys here. So like I run a podcast. I'm in my practice all the time. I'm a pretty introverted guy, but I work very well in this type of situation. Or if I'm in a conference, I get to teach. I'm around like my people. Like I'm very good with that. Otherwise, I'm just kind of okay. My wife is always like, listen, go out with your friends. Go, like that's her like trying to help me reconnect, if you will, right? My confidence and be around my guy friends and do crazy shit, whatever it's gonna be. Just go.
Yeah.
So I come back and I'm like, I come back like that our dating husband, if you will, like when we were dating back in the day. So I think, just made me think about that, like why is she trying to kick me out of the house? Go hang out with your friends, like type of thing. And I think it's ultimately, so I go out and have that excitement that drew us together, right. That's who you are.
Totally.
That's,
so like, he gets to miss you a little bit and you get to miss her and, wonder what the other person's doing. Like so much of attraction is mystery. Mm-hmm. And that's something that guys really tend to not realize. Like in the biggest way I see that is a guy will get a woman's number and he'll be really excited. So naturally he'll start texting her, but then he'll start texting her way too often. Hey, how's your day going? And then sharing about his day. And at first she's excited too, because maybe she likes him and she's interested, but he's having this really long text conversation, oversharing and like, how's it going? Like, and the same conversation that's great in person sucks via text, right? It really sucks.
Like human contact is important. Human connection.
Yeah. When you get that "how are you" text, it's like fuck you. How am I? Leave me alone, right? Like not. That's obviously aggressive, but it's it can be annoying if that's coming from the same person all the time. And so what I was saying is you end up, because you're excited, you over communicate, and it kills all the mystery. Whereas if you were just short and sweet, try to set up a date and then let her think about you, she's going to fill in all of the amazing things about you. She's not going to think about the bad stuff because she doesn't know you. Or if you have a good, solid, relationship with your wife, like when you're gone, she's just going to miss you and remember the good stuff, not like the annoying bad stuff.
Yeah, so not like get out of here. I can't wait till you leave type of thing. Like go out, have fun so you can come back, the type of thing.
Well, even if it is that, those feelings are only going to last for a couple hours. Then the good stuff's going to start coming back in her brain.
Exactly. So I want to pivot one more time here because this is like where this is fun. On your website, and I mean, obviously you travel, you have fun, you do all of these different things. You talk about lifestyle, and my last podcast that I ran was called Lifestyle Locker, and it was all about being healthy, but about lifestyle encompasses a lot, from relationships to money to happiness to health to all of these different things. So when you talk about helping, like having that awesome lifestyle, what do you mean? And how do you bring that into the fold of what you do?
So yeah, in particular for guys who are single, typically in their like, late 20s, 30s, early 40s, that's kind of the most of the guys I work with. Some guys in their early 50s, even if they're 60s too, but that's kind of our age group, right?
Yep.
And if you're single, odds are you don't have a lot really tying you down, right? Of course, maybe you're close with your family and your friends or whatnot, but you do have a unique position where you can travel, especially if you have a job that's kind of flexible. So what I did that was, well, I mean, it was kind of easy given my job was a dating coach and I was working mainly on the internet. But what I always help my clients do is negotiate a remote working position. And the beauty of COVID is everyone's got a remote working position. That made my job so much easier because, that was a major part of it. And once if you do have a 9 to 5 that you're kind of stuck in, if you can start working from home, you can free up so much of your time because no one really works in like an 8 or 9 hour day at the office.
No, they work like 3 hours of that day.
That's it. The rest of the time is spent like, hanging out, going to lunch, not really doing anything, checking your email, right? So you can do that hardcore work for 3 hours at home. And now you have 5 hours that you can invest in your social skills. You can start a side business. So what I did, I started a side business in the vacation rental real estate realm. Basically, I started renting out my apartment on Airbnb, and got the landlord's permission. So that started bringing in side income, and that sort of side passive or side hustle turned into a passive income generating business. And that allowed me, along with my coaching business, to start traveling. And the best thing I ever did was selling all my furniture, getting rid of my overpriced, lease in LA, and just kind of living like a digital nomad for a while. I moved to New York and I'd spend like fall, and depending on the year, it was either fall or spring in New York, which is the best time when the weather's nice. And then I'd spend summers in Europe and usually spend winter in somewhere like LA and where my friends and family are. And I kind of just chase the summer perpetually or chase the good weather. But because I was able to make money through my side hustle and, work online, it afforded me the luxury of both traveling. It also allowed me to kind of be single a lot easier, because if you're trying to be single and you're trying to like have a lot of fun and live that lifestyle, you're going to meet a cool girl and odds are that could turn into a relationship. But if you're moving around all the time, it just helps keep things more casual anyway. So if you're a guy listening to this and you're like, I just want to be like a total player, like I don't condone being like a dick or an asshole to women, but if you want to sort of like have a ton of really fun, non-committed relationships, it's so much better to do that while traveling because it naturally kind of breaks up that tendency to stay in a relationship.
Yeah.
So for the guys that I coach, if they're first, I help them kind of negotiate that remote situation. And then I try to get them to use their spare time to, build their dating skills, but also, pick a side hustle, whether that's real estate, making money, on some sort of, there's so many things you can do as a side hustle, now with the internet and crypto and all that stuff, right? Like pick something you're interested in, create a side hustle, and then, travel, meet women from different cultures and have that cool experience that a lot of people don't really do until they're retired, because when else can you do it if you if you're young and you get married and you have that usually comes at a later time. But like for you, obviously you can't do that if you have kids and if you're married. Not that you would want to anyways, right? That is something you probably want to enjoy later, once.
I have no kids, so
okay.
We love travel. My wife and I, we love it.
Oh, nice.
Odd these past couple of years, but yeah, we love seeing the world for sure.
Right, and that's the beauty of the current situation, is that it's a lot, well, sort of easier to do that depending on travel restrictions. But I'm in Istanbul, Turkey right now. I usually live in Kiev, Ukraine, and prior to that, I was just kind of this digital nomad. So I think there's nothing really stopping you from doing it. It's just kind of in your own head. Yeah. Like, oh, I can't, I've got all my furniture, sell it, burn it. Like,
Yeah.
The amount of money people waste on storage units for shit that they never use is out of control. It's one of the most lucrative investments is buying a storage unit, because so many people just have their useless shit rotting in there, and you get to capitalize off that. So
it's crazy, right? It's absolutely crazy. So let's finish with this one question, because we're gonna, I just want to let everybody know there's gonna be more, but you're gonna have to head over or scroll down the show notes and hit the video link, because there's gonna be more conversation coming up. So last question for the audio portion of this is, if you share with our audience, your audience, this is important. What would you tell someone? If you had to tell them one thing to help them have a more abundant, human-powered life, what would you say?
Not to sound like a broken record, but I'm going to go back to get comfortable with rejection, whatever that is for you, whether it's business, dating, whatever, there's no way to avoid rejection in life. And if you transform that relationship you have with it, where it's cool, that rejection is one step closer to the next acceptance or yes, then you just stop worrying about that and you do what you need to do.
Perfect. All right, everybody. Robbie Kramer, stay tuned. Head over the video, check out the show notes. We'll see you soon. Thank you, Robbie.
Yeah. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Human Powered Life Podcast. I know you may have just heard this, and I think it's important to head over to lifestylelocker.com, where you can find the second part of this episode that's in video format only. The whole episode is also there in video format should you want to watch. Again, I am Dr. Josh Hant, your host for the Human Powered Life Podcast, and I'm looking forward to staying connected with you as a human-powered life hero. Remember, join the tribe, and we'll see you soon.